And welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Chastity, I think we're going to have more fun than our legal limit today because we've got Tim Bryant in the studio, Georgia's Morning News. He's hanging out with us. And Tim, I appreciate you joining us because I know you get up very early.
Very early.
Yeah, I was telling Chastity, I normally this is nap time.
I would bet.
Yeah, and I think I almost had the nap driving over. So.
Well, we want you to get some sleep, and they can load you up with caffeine so that doesn't happen on your way back to your next destination. But this is bizarre because everything that I had queued up for the first segment, we're tossing out the window because in walks Charlie Morgan, sits down, and I find out there was a life and death situation that took place 10 years ago between Tim and Charlie, and Tim saved your life.
He absolutely did.
That's overstated.
No, that is not. No. So
Tell us about this. Yeah.
Tim and I go way back. So we worked in radio together 15 years ago.
At least,
yeah. Gosh, I'm not that old.
She's a baby.
But
You started when you were 12?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah. So we worked together for a while, and I had jokingly told Chastity, I mean, it was not joking. I just said, Tim saved my life. And I was like, oh, and he would come in my office and ask for a piece of candy. And be like, hey, remember that time I saved your life? Can I have this? I'm like, well, God, Tim, I can't say no now. Yeah. And so I told her about that this morning, and as Tim and I are talking about it, you guys, Chastity and Mark, your jaws are just dropped at this story.
I had no clue.
The moral of the story, though, is to always have a great coworker around, but to be your own advocate. Because the problem was I was 8 months pregnant.
Okay.
And
I was like 13. I mean, you were out there.
Thank you, Tim. I was showing a lot, but I had put on a lot of weight. I mean, I'm not tiny, but I'm not big either. I was over 200 pounds. I was swollen. I had high blood pressure.
Yep.
Everybody hears about preeclampsia. I just had eclampsia. Like, there was no pre about it. My blood pressure was through the roof. I could barely see. Probably should not have driven to work that morning.
So it meant you went to a doctor and they said, hey, you're okay?
I had been going to a doctor because my blood pressure was through the roof. And I've always had historically pretty low blood pressure. So I knew something was wrong. But they kept doing the blood test. They would do the urine test. They would, do all the things they do. No, there's no protein. You're fine. It's just part of being pregnant. Just keep taking care of yourself. Be an advocate for yourself. That is the moral of the story, because I kept saying there's something wrong. I went into work very early that morning, probably 4 or 5, no, maybe even before that.
Might have been before that.
Yeah, I wanted to get ahead of work, and I was going to go knock on that the doctor office's door in the morning and say, what's wrong with me? Put me on bed rest. Something is wrong. And didn't even make it that far. When I walked into the office, I called my husband to let him know that I made it to the office.
Right.
That is the last thing I remember. I remember struggling to call him, and he's told me that I actually called my parents' house line before, and didn't dial him the first time. But that's the last thing I remember.
And then in walks the hero of the story.
In walks Tim. And so Tim can kind of fill in the blanks because
your husband, Randy calls me, and I can't get Charlie to answer a phone, go find Charlie. And I knew someone was in the building, and so I found out, okay, that must have been Charlie who came in. Go into the studio where I think you were working, and you weren't there. You'd spilled a Coke or something all over the place.
Coffee or who knows what it was.
There. And so I go looking for you, find you in the lobby. You're on your way out the door.
Where was I going? Because I could not see to drive.
But at this point, she's still standing.
She's standing, but only for a second. And at the moment that I saw you, you turn around and give me this really odd look. And then you fall over backwards in such a way.
Like timber.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I was really concerned for an instant. I was, oh, my Lord, she's dead. I thought, and then I thought, there's a baby here, too. And I'm thinking all these horrible thoughts. And I reached for my phone to dial 911. You know about, I didn't know I was calling my parents or whatever. It's amazing how long it takes to dial 911.
Yeah, when you're nervous.
You're shaking. Yeah, right. Yes.
But I seriously and horribly, I had that horrible thought that she just died right in front of me, and it was actually a relief. You can get a little graphic. It was relief when you began to convulse.
Which is just terrifying.
And, I mean, I felt, she's not dead. She's
not dead, but can you imagine a pregnant lady laying there convulsing?
What would you? I mean, how do you know what to do at that point? You did the right thing.
I did. I guess you saved my life. The only thing I think I really did that may have helped at all as you're convulsing, you're getting graphic, you're beginning to spit up a little bit. And it occurred to me that, okay, you're flat on your back. You don't need to be flat on your back if you're doing this. So let me roll you over on your side. And that was maybe the most important thing I did, other than opening the door for the ambulance. And they were there within minutes. Randy may have even called it.
I think he called him, and he loves to tell the story that they're like, well, sir, if this is a business and the door is locked, how are we going to get in? And he had some choice words like, I don't care how you get in, you knock the door down. Like, I don't care.
Fortunately, I was there to open them. I helped them load you into the ambulance because you were weighing 200 pounds. And
I was, though.
And I've told you this. I mean, we were talking this earlier. The funny part of all of this is, and it's absolutely 100% true, I had maybe 2 nights earlier, I'd had a dream where I took you to the hospital to have the baby.
This is crazy. And I didn't know this part until literally 10 minutes ago.
I'm looking at you thinking, well, that dream's about to come true.
You did this to me, Tim.
That was partial premonition.
Yeah, it was absolutely true. It was crazy.
You're saying there, I think men don't, because men don't talk about this stuff anyway, but this thing about being an advocate for yourself, and doctors don't, what I read, what my wife tells me is that doctors don't take women seriously.
No, they do not. They do not. They brush you off. From the moment we tried to have children, and I said, there's something wrong. You're young. Just keep trying. I'm like, well, my husband's like 35, so I can't keep trying that much longer. Yeah, and I'm like, I'm telling her these issues I'm having, these symptoms, and she's like, no, you just got to keep trying. Left that doctor.
Your doctor is a woman?
Yes, left that doctor, went to another practice, and immediately we went to this endocrinologist and went through IVF, had this baby, and then this happens. I mean, it just, having kids was not the easiest thing in the world.
Was number 2 easier?
Number 2,
no seizures?
No seizures. Number 2 came after 2 failed IVF cycles on her own. So in between, we had a failed IVF cycle. We waited a few months, had another failed IVF cycle. That was in October of 2018. When that happened, we decided the holidays are coming up. We're going to wait. We'll reevaluate, reassess our situation in January, and got pregnant naturally in November.
Wow.
I love that.
I mean, just a true testament of God. Yes, true testament to God's timing.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. I've got Tim Bryant in studio with me, Charlie Morgan. Chastity, here's the first thing we're going to do, because we are going to take this seriously. I want you to order padded flooring for Charlie's office, and padded walls, so that if something happens again, she's got a soft landing.
No, I got her.
Yes.
When you fell, I mean, did you hurt anything?
I don't. So I remember calling my husband to let him know I made it to work, and you can see pictures of me holding like my baby on my chest.
Yeah.
There's nothing registering in my face. Like, I'm just blank stare. The next thing I remember was my boss and my coworker, Pete and Walker, visiting me in the hospital and just being very confused that I had a baby. Like, it still had not registered, but that's my next memory, which they didn't come that day. They came the next day. So that would have been, a full 36 hours after.
I helped load you in the ambulance, and I did. You, as we're doing that in the gurney in the ambulance, you sat up and looked at me, and again that same odd look that you look in your eyes.
Weird.
But you were, I won't say alert because you don't remember it.
No.
But you were. You had enough on the ball to at least look up and look around, and you seemed to. I think you probably knew who I was or whatever.
Yeah, I
just bizarre.
Do not remember.
Be sure she stays well nourished. Get a blood pressure testing kit back
She's
there.
My girl. I got her.
Every day when she comes in, do a blood pressure test. Okay.
Yes.
Man.
Well, something else that we learned too in this conversation.
A little lighter conversation.
Is that Charlie is also half Portuguese.
I
is
am
that right?
half Portuguese. Yes.
So 50%.
I'm very Southern, but. Well, because maybe a little more, because I'm more of my dad than I am my mom.
What you're saying is you're Portuguese then.
I'm Southern Portuguese. I'll monogram it, but it's going to mean a different language.
So that means, you're Latina.
Is that Latina?
Of course. Yeah.
Is it?
Kind of, right?
It's European.
In a sense, I guess. Yeah, I've never been. Our son just got back. He and his fiance.
Do you trace your heritage to Portugal or to another country?
No, it's Portugal. Like, it's the Azores, which is like the islands. It's just beautiful.
Is that would that be Latina or that would be?
Is it?
No, maybe not.
maybe I need to brush up on my history.
I've never thought of it that way. Of course, I'm not sophisticated enough. I just think of Portugal as Portuguese. You know,
that's it. Yeah, I feel like I'm European.
You're Portuguese.
Yeah, that's what I think of. Western European.
Learn something new. None of the language got to you.
I mean, I can say a couple of the cuss words, but that's about it. My grandpa taught me well. Yeah. That's about it.
An FCC fine for a Portuguese cuss word?
That's an interesting question.
You know what? I'm not going to be the reason you get one. So that's not coming out of my pay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, let's dig into one of our stories because we have a minute before our first caller comes in, and I found something that is actually really good news. I love the idea. President Trump announced he's going to do a one-time, he's calling it a warrior dividend. Now, I've got a son who's active duty. I love this. It's like a Christmas bonus of $1,776, and it's going to go to about 1.45 million active duty and some reservists.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge them a nickel of that. It is the least we can do, and we should always try to do the least we can do.
Yep.
But every time somebody does something like this, however magnanimous and however worthwhile it is, I can't help, a little alarm goes off, and I think, wait a minute, we're $38 trillion.
I know. But you know what? Here's how I look at it, Tim. If we're going to do something like this, let's do it for these guys.
No, for sure.
Yep. But you're right. You know, when we look at, we give, $30 million to a country that needs help, it's like, we don't have $30 million. We don't have $1 million. We have negative $37 trillion is what we've got. And so I think that there's a element of this that he's looking at it through the lens of, okay, this is what we've recouped on some of the tariffs.
Exactly.
And we're
he's justifying it
through the tariffs.
That way.
Right.
I thought we were all going to get a cut of the tariffs.
Well, where's my $2,000?
Yeah, I thought we were all going to get a $2,000 check.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Flip the switch on that one. Okay.
I'm
not going to argue about
were
going
you already
to service.
spending your $2,000?
I'm always ahead of it. I can girl math anything.
But there is a distinction, because when we were doing this during COVID, and here's your $1,500, and we're doing it for everybody during COVID, that was literally just printing money.
It was.
And thus the inflation that we got. Now, if you're taking a tariff dividend, here's money that comes in as a result of these tariffs. Here, military, you get this, and later on, y'all get that. If that's where it's coming from, well, then that's not printing money. That's not inflation.
That's right.
And it's not really even impacting the debt or the deficit.
Right.
So.
No, you're right. When we did that was a financial sugar high that we went on, and it inflated a lot of different things. And now I think we're going to start paying the price. Or we've seen that with the inflation. But I do hope at some point, Tim, that there is an actual concerted effort to balance our budget. To be able to actually pay down the debt would be a 40-year plan at best. Now, if you got a $1 trillion surplus, it would take you up to 40 years to pay this debt off.
Now, the way that I've always understood, the way that you properly want to look at debt and deficit, you look at it as a percentage of the GDP. Well, we're upside down on that now.
Yeah.
Don't look at that.
So it's going to take an awfully long. I don't know that it's even doable or really even desirable. I mean, again, I have debt. I have a mortgage. We all live with a certain level of debt, but when it becomes excessive, it becomes unmanageable. And I'm afraid Senator Perdue is now the ambassador to China. You say, yeah, we're just arranging deck chairs on the Titanic now, whatever we do.
That's right. Yeah. No, it's a little bit shocking because everything people campaign on it. Hey, we're going to get there and balance the budget, and when they get there, there's hey, we got other things that we're going to do.
Yeah, it's
but
always
I agree with you, Tim. I cannot stand when you see us as a country giving money away to other countries. We're giving them money that we don't have, and it is just so disappointing and so frustrating. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, Walton County Commissioner Timmy Shelnut.
One of the fun parts of Christmas is the dazzling light displays. Some are tasteful and elegant. Others are a little over the top. Whether gaudy or gorgeous, it's hard to imagine Christmas without lights. Yet very few realize why light is so important at Christmas. Man is naturally drawn to spiritual darkness. The Bible says light has come into the world, but people love darkness instead of the light. Here's the hard truth. The light of Jesus exposes the sin in my heart and yours. Fearing that exposure, we reject him and choose to remain in the dark. Bad mistake. His light keeps us from stumbling through the darkness. Christmas is the annual birthday celebration of Jesus, the light of the world, who came to dispel the darkness. Christmas lights are a reminder of Jesus, who overcame the spiritual darkness of this world. This is Bryant Wright, wishing you a Merry Christmas, speaking right from my heart.
For devotions, visit rightfromtheheart.org. Are you looking for custom t-shirts, golf shirts, or uniforms for yourself or work? What about a family reunion, a fundraiser, or sports team? Whatever you're looking for, Chris and Debbie at Blue Hound in Monroe can help you. Real Country uses Blue Hound for our golf shirts and t-shirts. They do quality work and they're great folks. Blue Hound is located at 111 East Washington Street in Monroe. Go by and see what they can do for you or call 404-307-3664. That's 404-307-3664. Tell them April sent you.
There's something about a clock. It keeps working even when you don't think about it. All day, all night. Behind the clock is a machine you'll never see. Always reliable, always accurate. It wasn't a mistake when we named our heating and air company Clockwork. Yeah, some folks call us and ask if we can fix their watches. We can't. But we can fix your furnace and air conditioning brilliantly, so it runs like a clock. Runs when you're not even thinking about it. But there's something else about the clock in Clockwork Heating and Air Conditioning. We have mad respect for time. We make ourselves available on your time. We never waste your time. And we're at your house in a timely manner. This is what it means to work like clockwork. Clockwork Heating and Air Conditioning. Clockwork-air.com.
And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. I'm joined by my friend Tim Bryant. He is the host of Georgia's Morning News. This is normally his nap time, so Tim, I'm glad you caffeined up and you're ready to rock and roll with us. Because our first guest is my friend Timmy Shelnut. He is Walton County Commissioner. Timmy, thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Heck yeah, we're a rowdy bunch today. I don't know if Charlie's coming back or not, but Charlie, our station manager, we just found out that she is a Portuguese redneck, and so I don't know if she may want to come back and defend herself, but we're learning all kinds of new stuff today as I got a crowd in the studio with us. Timmy, tell our listeners a little bit about you, your beginnings. Are you a Walton County native and your family, things like that?
Well, I grew up here in Walton County. I lived on Youth Jersey Road for my whole life. Ever since I was born, I live now probably within 500 feet of where I grew up.
My goodness. Okay.
Me and my wife got married. She said, "Where are we going to live?" And I said, "Well, you can pick either side of my mama. That's as far as I'm going."
Oh, that's great.
So that's where I live. My parents are still alive. That I'm thankful for that.
Amen to that. Yep.
And I have a beautiful wife who's much better than I am. And I have 3 kids and 5 grandkids.
That is fantastic.
Well, hey, Tim Bryant here. Let me ask you something. Why you want to mess all that up by going into politics?
Yeah.
You know, when I told my parents the first time, I said, "Look, I'm going to run for politics." You know what my mom said? She said, "Well, everybody's going to say you're a crook."
Yeah.
That was the first words out of her mouth.
Well, and I think that being on the school board or in the county commission is probably one of the most difficult elected positions you can have. Wouldn't you agree, Tim? It's like you're so close to the street, and it's a rough thing to you're always getting judged for what you've done or haven't done.
That's right.
Tim, let me ask you this. Coming up for 2026, you're on the commission, and let's back up just for a quick second. We lost a beloved member of the commission this past year, Bo Warren. We had Anne-Marie on just a couple of weeks ago, and she was fantastic sharing her story. Bo's going to be missed. He was a great part of the Walton County Commission.
He was a great man, and he was a great role model, and we already miss him.
Yeah, no doubt. So what's coming up for 2026? What are some pressing issues that you guys want to address and look at for Walton County?
I guess the biggest thing is, we had all the controversy over the jail and the millage rate, but, we had to build that jail. We didn't build that jail for the prisoners. We built it for the safety of the police officers working in it. And, that's a big issue. It's fully staffed now, and then we have the next big project is our water treatment facility at Hard Labor Creek. And that's mainly the reason that I started in politics. Wendell Geiger, Thomas Mitchell, and Joe Johnson used to be pretty much the water authority back 30 years ago. And the county took it over, and them three guys is why I got into politics. They talked me into running, and because they wanted to make sure that reservoir was built.
Now, the plan, as I understand it, correct anything I get wrong here, but that was a partnership or is to be a partnership with Oconee County. What's the status of that relationship?
It's a great partnership. The Oconee has been a great partner, and they're great people.
Yeah, it's something I tell people that are interested in running for office, too, is if you're going to run for commissioner, you better understand zoning, development, and water. Those are some big issues. Would you agree with that, Timmy?
I agree 100%. You know, I get in a lot of trouble for voting for development, but, you know, nobody wants people coming anymore. I mean, they want to keep Walton County like it was 30 years ago, but it can't stay that way. It has to grow, and, you know, the people that own that land, they have a right to sell it, just like people that want to sell their house every day.
You know, I've watched local government for decades, and I go to the meetings and I hear the comments, the public comment, and you get a lot of this when there's some project proposed. I don't know, somebody wants to come build a car factory. You hear a lot of this talk. Well, we moved here to get away from that kind of thing. To me, the key phrase there is we moved here. I mean, when you came here, everything was just fine if you had been the last person to come here.
Shut the door behind you.
Close the gate behind you. Everybody wants to do that, and they never seem to realize sometimes how hypocritical they are, or at least how hypocritical they sound.
That's right. I mean, it's, you know, I grew up here. I don't like all this growth either, but, you know, there's no way to stop it.
Well, and I think a consequence of doing things the right way is the growth. I mean, there's a reason that people want to come to Walton County. I've said this on the station 100 times. So if you have good leadership, if you have good law enforcement, good schools, people want to be a part of this, Tim. It's something that people want to participate, and they're going to leave a county that is struggling to come to a place like this. And I think the biggest challenge for you guys as leaders of the county is how do you manage the growth, right? And so what do you do to kind of properly, I don't want to say regulate, maybe that's not the word, but moderate, right? You know, to be sure that it's at a decent tempo, that we don't get overwhelmed and that our traffic doesn't get out of hand.
It's just so hard to I don't know the right words, but you know, it's just so hard for, you know, you take somebody that's got a farm that's owned it for 100 years and they wanting to sell it, and they wanting $35,000 an acre for it, and the only person that's going to buy it is the developer. So,
right,
you know, you make a lot of people mad that don't want the growth, but what about the guy that's owned the land for 100 years?
Let me inject two words into the conversation here in terms of development. It's an issue, and I could rattle off a dozen counties without thinking hard about it that are dealing with the issues of data centers. First of all, any data center, anybody knocking on your door that you know about, and what would be the position of the county on this at this moment? A lot of counties around here having to deal with that. What would be your position? What's the county position if there is one?
A data center is, I don't know that we have any scheduled in the county right now. I mean, they don't tell us stuff like that. The Development Authority, you know, they keep all that stuff real quiet until they can talk about it. They have to sign, you know, statements where they can't talk about it, and
right.
And we a lot of times we don't know it till it's a done deal. But you know, these data centers bring a lot of money to the county, and you know, Social Circle is getting 2, I think, and
that's right.
You know, that's going to really help the taxpayers, and I mean, we think if we'll be able to start rolling our millage rate back. You know, we had to raise it this year, but we are very hopeful that not next year, but the next year we can start rolling that millage rate back to where it was.
That would be welcome. And let me ask you this. Well, not to cut you off, Timmy, something that came to mind is I know there's also some discrepancies as to the valuation of some of the commercial properties in Walton County or in Monroe specifically. Is that being addressed too? Are they kind of getting that back in balance with each other?
I think so. We have a great tax commissioner, Tommy Knight. He's did a great job, and and I think our entire board trusts him. And when he evaluates these commercial lots and buildings, and he has to do it by the guidelines set by the state. So
yeah, you just can't go out there and just start throwing numbers around. But
that's right.
And I know that was a big deal. Let me ask you this: we've got time for maybe one more question, Timmy. When you're looking at becoming involved in the county commission, what's some advice you would give to somebody? Because obviously at some point the guard changes, we bring in new people, we bring in fresh voices. What is some advice you'd give to somebody? Because I mean it when I say it. You guys, I mean, I've seen it where you might be out at dinner and somebody has disagreed with your policies or something you voted on. And some people can be very vociferous and say, hey, you know what, let me give you my peace of mind, which isn't appropriate. There's a time and a place for everything. And look, nobody wants to pay more in taxes, right? Myself included.
That's right.
But that being said, there's a way to conduct ourselves and approach this. But what advice would you give to somebody that is wanting to be part of this? They said, hey, you know what, I want to get involved. I want to have a say, and I want to be able to lead Walton County. What would you tell them?
You just have to, you have to have a thick skin, and you have to be you just have to have thick skin and be ready for anything. but I love being in politics. I mean, I love to help people. I feel like I've done that. I know I probably could have done a better job in some things, but I just enjoy the people. And you really, you need to be a people person, and sometimes you just have to hold your tongue and say the right thing, and sometimes that's hard.
Well, that's kind of like that's kind of like being married, Timmy. That's kind of like being married. Sometimes we learn to just hold our tongue and say the right thing.
That's right.
Well, and I'll close with this, Timmy. And you're not my commissioner. Dr. Jeremy Adams is my commissioner. He is accessible every time I reach out to him. He will call me back if he doesn't answer, and you're the same way. Even though you're not my commissioner, anytime I've reached out to you, whether it's a question regarding property taxes or something that's coming on in the way of development, you've always responded to me, and I don't even live in your district. So I appreciate your accessibility and your willingness to engage with the constituents.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show, and hope you have a wonderful Christmas.
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas to you.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Timmy.
Yes, sir.
Walton County Commissioner Timmy Shelna. That was great. Appreciate him joining us. When we come back, we are going to have Brian Robinson. He is a political communications expert, has a firm where he works with local elected officials, but this guy is in the know on everything Georgia and nationwide as it relates to politics.
John's Supermarket in downtown Monroe is proud to serve the Walton County community for over 50 years. 3 generations of the Thompson family offering the freshest produce, quality meats, everyday essentials, and now featuring Bistro South, a quick service restaurant with freshly made Southern cuisine and ready-to-heat gourmet meals. Always proud to support local farmers and suppliers, John's Supermarket has the best meat in town and tons of weekly specials. Stop by and see them for all the ingredients, gifts, snacks, sweets, and everything in between you need this holiday season.
Hey y'all, it's Bethany at Willfully Guided Co. Boots and Western Apparel. Whether you're on the job site, in the barn, or out on the town, we've got the perfect boots for every occasion. From rugged work boots to stylish fashion picks, let us outfit the entire family from head to toe. Come see us at 116 South Broad Street. right in the heart of beautiful downtown Monroe. Willfully Guided Co. Boots and Western Apparel, your local family-owned destination for the finest boots and apparel around.
Are you considering selling your house or land, or perhaps finding your dream home? Call Stacy McCullers, your trusted real estate expert with 12 years of experience and a lifelong connection to Walton County. Stacy is here to help you every step of the way. Whether you're buying or selling, she's available anytime to make your real estate journey smooth and successful. Don't wait. Call today, 678-859-6336. A member of Malcolm & Malcolm Realty Professionals, Stacy McCullers, your realtor for life.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry designed just for you? At P&A Jewelers, family owned since 1976, we've been helping our customers shine for nearly 50 years. Now proudly run by second-generation brother and sister team, we specialize in custom jewelry design, expert repair work, and fine jewelry for every occasion. Visit P&A Jewelers, where family tradition sparkles. Located in Loganville beside Quick Trip, or online at shoppajewelers.com. Follow us on Facebook to see what's new. John Super.
Your family and friends will love the Christmas gifts from Stripling's General Store. See their huge selection of holiday gift boxes with smoked sausage, country cured ham, beef jerky, jellies, old-fashioned hoop cheese, barbecue sauce, and more. Choose a pre-made box, or you can put together a box that fits your needs and budget. Jimmy Cap, his family and staff wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stripling's General Store, Highway 78 East and Highway 53 in Bogart.
Pony Express Liquidators is the place to visit before you make any purchase if you're remodeling or building a new home. They have great deals on just about everything you'll need and up to 50% off the big box stores. Bathroom vanities, bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks, windows, hardware, and still-in-the-box doors and screen doors. Now that's what I was looking for. 2 locations to serve you, 361 Fundenberg Drive in Monticello or Highway 11 in Mansfield.
And welcome back, Marc McMain. I've got Tim Bryant in the studio with me. And our next guest is Brian Robinson. He is the president of the Robinson Republic. It's a Georgia-based political communications firm. He is a regular on the Fox 5 Georgia Gang, or a panelist on the Fox 5 Georgia Gang, and co-host of WABE's Political Breakfast. Brian, thank you for joining us, sir.
You bet. Thanks for having me, Mark. Good to be with you.
I brought in some backup today. I got Tim Bryant here with me today, Brian. So,
hey, Tim, how you doing?
You know, I'm going to, again, I keep doing this. I'm going to keep lobbying for a slot on the Georgia Gang. I've been after it for years, and nobody's returning my call.
Yeah. Think of that. You'd be fantastic on there. You'd be fantastic. How often do you get to get on the Georgia Gang?
I'm on every other week.
Every other week?
Yes, Martha's Dollar and I rotate on and off.
Well, that's a great show. We enjoyed it. We had Phil Kent on a couple weeks ago, and I know he is panelist on there as well. So let's start off. We'll just kind of do a nice little soft warm-up. Obviously, you've observed Georgia politics for decades. How would you describe the current political climate in Georgia heading into 2026, which is going to be a frenzy?
No, it's going to be a huge turnover here in 2026. Obviously, we know right now this isn't predictive. We're going to have a new governor, a new lieutenant governor, a new attorney general, a new secretary of state. We're going to have a lot of really competitive state house and state senate races, particularly on the state house side. We saw one right over there where Tim lives last week, a special election for a state house seat in Oconee and Clark County, where the Democrats took a seat that the Republican had won by 22 points in 2024 and won by a narrow margin. So, you know, we know that Republicans are routinely, in these special elections anyway, losing about 10 percentage points off their regular margins. That's, of course, a great concern. But special elections are special elections. They're not normal. They're not predictive of the general election. But they do show that the environment for Republicans is tough. And I think some of that is just an anti-incumbent environment because people feel squeezed by inflation. And we're seeing negative sentiments in polling about the economy from Americans across the board. And the Public Service Commission race in November really brought this to the fore, where that became a referendum on your energy bill. And, you know, nowhere in the history of the world do people think they're paying a fair price for energy. Everybody thinks they're paying too much. But I think that was really exacerbated in this year's election. So tough environment, but the environment has time to change. I think Republicans need to have a good second and third quarter in the economy next year, and for people to feel more optimistic about their own economic futures.
Well, let me push back on that a little bit, and it's on the basis of some polling I saw this morning. I was watching Fox, and they kept showing this poll, and you talk about, well, people will feel better about the economy, or the hope is that they will. The polling suggests that people never feel good about the economy. Are you concerned about inflation? 90% of the people said yes. They looked at the same poll, they asked the same question 5 years ago, got the same 90%. You go back 100 years, you're going to get that same 90%. Nobody ever feels good about the economy. Everybody's always concerned about the economy. I don't know how you get around that.
Well, you watch what voters do, not just what they say. And when voters feel good about the economy, they feel good about their future and their prospects, they vote for incumbents. They don't vote for change. And what we're saying is one change election after another. It wasn't just the Marcus Weedover State House seat. It wasn't just the Public Service Commission races, where those were partisan. And so anytime your party is in the White House, you're going to face some headwinds because the opposition is mobilized and more energized, and they want to go out there and fight, whereas the people who are in power may be more complacent. But we saw incumbent mayors across the state lose races in November. And that just shows people want change. They feel angst and they want change. And to Tim's point about polling, here's what I'm saying, and here's how I read into this. There is a segment of Americans who are doing fine. If much of your wealth is in the stock market or in real estate, you've seen tremendous gains over the last few years. You're doing great. Right? Sure, you're facing higher prices at the grocery store, higher prices for vacations, higher prices for cars and health care. But your wealth has grown enough to kind of keep up with it.
You can afford it,
Yes. I think what we're seeing change in voting patterns is for the other segment of the American population that isn't getting those gains and that is feeling left behind and doesn't see the next rung of the economic ladder. You know, when I was 22, I owned a house. You know, it wasn't much, and everything I owned was tied up into it. Good luck finding a 22-year-old Georgian today who is not a trust fund baby. Who is able to get that first foot on the economic ladder. And that is something that I think Republicans will be talking about in 26, is reviving the American dream for young Georgians to be able to own that home and to be able to grow wealth and to be able to have economic opportunities that allow them to live in a place with good schools, to afford that nice vacation, and feel good about their future.
And that's a great point, Brian. You're right, because the young homeowner is almost non-existent anymore. A lot of people are renting. And I'll tell you who else is feeling the squeeze on the economy is business owners, and that's directly related to inflation. So business owners who buy and sell products, right? Not so much service industries, but more people that are purchasing items from overseas. I'll give you an idea. I'm a publisher, so I get paper from Canada, and when those tariffs go into place, it hurts. And these are items, Tim, that when my paper prices go up, I can't immediately pass it on to the customer because a lot of times I have an agreement in place with the customer, right? So you have to eat it for maybe 2 or 3 years before you can actually recoup that. So there's no doubt it's a trickle down effect. And you said second or third quarter, Brian, that there needs to be some movement in the economy. I really think it needs to be first or second quarter. I think it needs to happen sooner than later so people can feel that relief. And then maybe it translates to some different results in the polls. I'm going to shift gears just a minute. There's something I wanted to pick your brain on, and Tim, I can't wait to get your thoughts on this too. And I don't know that I have a thought in this. It's just something that I'm curious as to where you guys are. Runoffs. Runoffs have now become, especially in primaries, almost a guarantee, right? If there's 3 or 4 candidates in a primary, whether it's in a Democrat or Republican primary, rarely is it that the top guy gets 50.1%. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, what are you trying to steer me toward ranked choice voting?
No.
Okay, because that's going to run into a brick wall.
No.
There are a couple of ways you could approach it. I mean, you can say, do away with the 50% plus one majority requirement. I got more votes than you. I get elected. You can do it that way.
In a jungle primary, that'd be dangerous, though.
Absolutely, It would. But so I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know that there's an easier answer than that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, my animating belief is my fiscal conservatism. I believe in guarding dollars, and that what dollars we spend should be an investment that has a return. And runoffs are a bad investment. They are super expensive, and nobody shows up for them. They are not a representation of the electorate. And so we often get extreme candidates, and we see candidates who are running to the extremes in order to appeal to the most activated, partisan, ideological voters that are out there. So small electorate elections are a worry to me because it gets us away from the center. And they're very expensive for taxpayers, particularly when you have to do all these days of early voting. You have to hire people to man those polls for a lot of these small counties. Mm-hmm. That's a major burden. Particularly at a time when many of these counties are raising property taxes to keep up with their own expenses.
Let me give you a really worst case scenario for a quick second. Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, stepping down in Georgia 14. I saw this the other day. Now, the caveat is that nobody's a candidate until they qualify.
Right.
But I saw the other day that there are 16 people talking about running in that race.
Wow.
Now, I mean, you talk about a guaranteed runoff. You may have more candidates than voters.
Yeah, right. And you seriously may have somebody in the runoff who gets less than 20% of the vote in that particular case. And, I mentioned ranked choice voting and that it hits a brick wall. It does hit a brick wall. Just speaking pragmatically, Tim is right.
Yeah.
The argument that I get, because I'm open to exploring it myself, the argument that I get is, oh, this benefits Democrats, or Democrats think, oh, this benefits Republicans. Both sides think it helps the other. And the truth is, there's not any concrete evidence to show that it's got a partisan bias in it. Let's do it then in primaries and just save the cost of runoff in primaries and just have the instant runoff there where people can say, I like Tim Bryant for number one. My second is going to be Marc, and then third and fourth, whoever that may be. Go ahead and just do it in primaries. That way, nobody has to fear a partisan preference one way or the other.
Yeah.
And at least, it's a way to educate voters on how to do it. That's another argument I keep hearing is that, voters are too dumb to figure this out, which I'm dubious of. But let's try it in a primary and see if it works. And let's let cities do it if they want to. If cities want to have an opt-in for mayor and city council races because they don't want to pay for a runoff, I think that's fiscally conservative. I think that is a way of protecting tax dollars.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Tim Bryant is joining me, and our guest is Brian Robinson. Brian, let's talk about next year's legislative session. Is there anything that you see coming up? And you know what? We can break this into two categories. Let's talk about the legislature as a whole. Do you see any changes? Obviously, the Republicans hold a slim majority in the House, a little bit deeper majority in the Senate. But do you see any contested seats that will flip one way or the other?
I think both sides agree on what those contested seats are. And as you would expect, they tend to congregate in Metro Atlanta. There's a few in Gwinnett County. We're seeing tremendous demographic change. There are a couple in Southwest Georgia where there are Republican-held seats that have very large black voter populations where a Democrat would have an opportunity. You've got a Democrat in rural southeast Georgia, somebody who's actually very popular with the Republicans, who won by 44 votes in 2024. So Republicans are certainly going to try to pick off that seat. That's probably the Republicans' number one opportunity seat is that one. It's held by a black minister named Mac Jackson. Again, he's very popular. He is a Democrat, but he voted for the heartbeat bill, and last year he voted for tort reform.
Well, and Tracy Wheeler, almost like you said, with less than 50 votes, almost took that. My buddy James Cooper spotted that seat, Brian, well before anybody else was paying attention to it. He saw that was a potential flip, and the Republicans came so close.
I got a pro-tort reform, pro-life Democrat. Why do I want a Republican?
Well,
I'll give you a bunch of reasons why.
I'll give you one reason why. Who do you vote for Speaker? I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah.
And I think Mac would have been a great party switcher because, if you vote for the heartbeat bill and tort reform, you belong with us, really, in today's partisan environment. But he thought he couldn't do that.
Of course, we saw what happened to the party switcher in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with Misha Maynor.
Right, one and done.
Right.
Yeah.
Brian, one more quick question before we take our first break, because we want to keep you for one more segment if you've got the time. If the Republicans hold the House, hold the Senate as anticipated, any legislative surprises, anything that you think's on the horizon that will get through this legislative session, get signed into law?
There doesn't seem to be anybody coming to the table with a major marquee item like we had last year with tort reform. But I promise you this, everything that comes to the forefront will be addressing what voters tell us is top of mind, and that is affordability. So if we talk about housing, we're going to talk about housing affordability.
Yep.
If we talk about health care or insurance or energy, we're going to be talking about affordability. So everything's going to be seen through that framework, and it's a way for legislators and the governor's office to say, we hear you, we are listening, and we are trying to address your concerns. Both parties are going to be talking about affordability. But the trick is this. They have different solutions for how we fix it. And that's how it's supposed to be. The two parties addressing an issue with competing viewpoints.
Yep. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Our guest is Brian Robinson. We come back more. We're going to shift gears and talk about national stuff.
Your family and friends will love the Christmas gifts from Stripling's General Store. See their huge selection of holiday gift boxes with smoked sausage, country cured ham, beef jerky, jellies, old-fashioned hoop cheese, barbecue sauce, and more. Choose a pre-made box, or you can put together a box that fits your needs and budget. Jimmy Cap, his family and staff wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Stripling's General Store, Highway 78 East and Highway 53 in Bogart.
Pony Express Liquidators is the place to visit before you make any purchase if you're remodeling or building a new home. They have great deals on just about everything you'll need and up to 50% off the big box stores. Bathroom vanities, bathroom sinks and kitchen sinks, windows, hardware, and still-in-the-box doors and screen doors. Now that's what I was looking for. 2 locations to serve you, 361 Fundenberg Drive in Monticello or Highway 11 in Mansfield.
Is technology giving you a tough time at your home or business? Don't worry, Big Mountain Computers is here to help. We're your local tech experts, now open in Madison. Our white glove service ensures personalized solutions for all your IT needs. Hardware fixes, remote support, private lessons, and more. Visit us at Madison Plaza across from Ingalls or call 706-343-4184 to schedule your consultation. That's 706-343-4184. Big Mountain Computers, turning your mountains into molehills.
Make holiday memories this year. Gather your family and friends and go to Berry's Tree Farm in Covington. There's nothing like choosing and cutting down your own tree for Christmas. Berry's Tree Farm has Leland cypress, Carolina sapphire, Virginia pine, cedar, and fresh cut Fraser fir. For the kids, they have train rides and snow flocking is available. Call 770-786-5833. Located off I-20 exit 88 in Covington. Don't forget to visit Santa's Workshop for your fresh wreaths, garland, and tree stands. 770-786-5833 or go to www.berrystreefarm.com.
Welcome back to the Marc McMain Show. Tim Bryant's in studio visiting with me today, and our guest is Brian Robinson. He is a president of Robinson Republic, a Georgia-based political communications firm. He's also a regular on the Georgia Gang and WABE's Political Breakfast. Brian, let's shift our focus now to the national scene. House control. Is it likely that the Republicans have a chance to hold power in the House of Representatives?
We'll see how the redistricting efforts in Texas and California play out. And, one thing that concerns me about these redistricting efforts is if you take a Republican district that performs at 60% Republican and bring it down to 55%, by dispersing the Democrats into various different districts, if Republicans are losing margin, a 55% district becomes very competitive and could get picked off by Democrats. So there could be some perverse consequences for this. And the same for California with the Democrats. They could very well run to an issue where a good Republican picks off a Democrat, and because they were dispersing Republicans around in California. But look, it's very normal, and I think you can assume that the party in the White House, with a tight margin in the House, is going to have a hard time maintaining that majority. It's not much of a majority now. It's not a governing majority now. We've seen several times in the last several weeks a discharge petition with enough Republican signatures to push something to the floor over the objection of leadership. That's highly extraordinary and out of the ordinary. So the chances of flipping control there are pretty good. The Republicans should be good in the Senate. The map greatly favors Republicans. The most vulnerable Democrat is in Georgia, John Ossoff. Republicans are going to face a candidate that's going to have $250 million, I would imagine, spent on his behalf. So it's going to be hard to do. Jeez. But we have a chance in Georgia to try to put more conservative leadership in Washington.
Yeah, and just help me, and Tim, jump in at any time, but I'm curious, go back to the California, Texas. If both of those states get their way with what they're trying to do with the redistrict, will it be a net wash?
I was about to say, just going to cancel each other out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could very well be, which kind of brings you back to, like, why did we do this? Right? I mean, what did we accomplish at the end of the day?
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, and so that's what's taking place with that. So
I agree.
What about the Senate side? Let's go back. Let's talk about Georgia. Tim, I know you're following that race. Ossoff is going to have a ton of cash because he's going to watch the Republicans beat their brains out for 6 months.
Well, the Republican beating their brains out for 6 months requires another guy to get into the ring, and I keep waiting for somebody to join Mike Collins. Anybody seen Buddy Carter lately? And I don't know where Derek Dooley. At least Derek Dooley's out beating the bushes, but right now this looks like, and I know we got a ways to go. Right now, Mike Collins is the one I see in here. I don't hear much about these other two.
I agree, Tim. I think where Mike Collins has really excelled in this race is he has a team that understands how the attention economy works, and it has never been more important in politics than it is today. That is how we had people like MTG and AOC become recognizable by their initials. It is they are masters of the attention economy, and Mike Collins' team has been able to do that. Buddy Carter doesn't seem to be able to break through in that way, and Derek Dooley doesn't really break through in that way either. We'll see if either one of them have the funds to be super competitive, raise their name ID, drive a message. It's going to be really difficult in a very crowded field with a lot of people competing for airtime in 2026 primary. But if Georgians tune in to any races, it's two. It's our governor's race and our U.S. Senate race. So they all have the opportunity to break through because Georgians are willing to listen to candidates in those races. They're less willing to tune in to down ballot, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, attorney general. Yep. Very hard for those candidates to get attention.
Am I reading too much into something that hasn't happened here? 5 minutes after he announced, Burt Jones had President Trump's endorsement. I've been looking at the calendar every day, wondering when President Trump was going to get around to endorsing in the Senate race, figuring Mike Collins would be the logical choice to get it. Every day that it doesn't happen makes me wonder why it isn't happening.
I think the biggest question, Tim, is why did the president want to weigh in so early in the Georgia governor's race when he hasn't been weighing in around the country? Like, that is a real outlier there. And I don't know if it's, lingering resentment toward Carr and Raffensperger, and that's what it was. Maybe he just particularly loves Burt Jones. I don't know. But that's an outlier. So what he's doing in the Senate race is actually much closer to custom, much closer to what he's doing in the rest of the country. They are watching polling. They are watching your fundraising numbers. They are calling their contacts in the states to see how these candidates are performing. Are they doing the work? They really are taking a more studious approach to it than I've seen from the Trump White House in the first term. So hopefully it's a disciplined approach. They want to make sure that someone has staying power. And I do think that the Trump team learned some lessons from 2022, where they focused solely on Trump loyalty tests and the people that spoke the most favorably of him, and ended up picking some real ducks who, didn't make it over the finish line. One of them being here in Georgia.
You listen to the Marc McMain Show. Tim Bryant's with me. Brian Robinson's our guest. Brian, you mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene earlier, her impact on exiting on January 5th. What does that mean for the Republican Party? And my beef has always been this. If we're going to elect somebody and send them to the House of Representatives, we need them to go up there and we need them to go to work, right? I don't want to be sending people up there to build their social media profile. I want people to go up there. They're going to craft legislation and represent their constituents. So where does this leave the Republican Party with her exiting?
You know, Mark, you hit on something there that's a personal issue of mine, and I appreciate you giving me that entree, because I would love for voters to select the serious candidates who want to go to Washington or want to go to the Gold Dome and do the serious work that makes our communities better, that makes healthcare more accessible, that makes our roads safe, and that makes our schools excellent. But what voters respond to are performative politics.
Right.
It is voters who sent MTG to Congress.
Right.
It is voters who sent AOC to Congress. And, if voters want performance art masters, well, congratulations. You're getting it. If you want people who are serious, well, you need to take a new tack because it's not working. There is not an incentive structure for serious people. And one thing that I've seen changed in my quarter century in politics that concerns me and distresses me is when I talk to potential candidates in communities who would be good candidates for a certain race, a certain district. The serious community leaders are less interested than they were 20 years ago in throwing their hat in the ring because they're so disgusted by the toxicity of politics. They are so scared of what it might mean for their businesses or their families to have to go out there and say the kind of things you have to say in performative politics to get elected. So,
that is a great analysis, Brian. It really is. And think of this. If I always relate the House of Representatives, Tim, to the board of directors, if you were going to start a major company and you wanted a board of directors, you're going to go find the brightest, most brilliant people that you can afford to take those spots. And the question is, are we getting those people?
Well, it's called the House of Representatives for a reason. And I always say it this way, stupid people deserve representation too.
And they're well represented.
That's
and with that, I would like to announce, no.
Brian, we got time for one more thing I was going to bring up. And Tim, if there's anything that you want to add, feel free. I don't want to be hogging this conversation. Unexpected twists. Are there any dark horses? And I initially crafted this question on the nationwide landscape. I'm going to shift this back to the Georgia landscape. Are there any dark horses in the statewide races that you think people need to be paying attention to or looking for?
Great question. And I think the most interesting race that plays into your question is the governor's race on the Republican side. I think there are a lot of people on the sidelines who think that the Trump endorsement plus Burt Jones's money make him very difficult to beat. And conventional wisdom would certainly support that theory. I think if you had, Vegas betting odds, you'd have to put money on Burt Jones. But we've got this group spending $5 million taking on Burt Jones right now and defining him as corrupt and unethical.
I've seen those ads. Yeah. Everywhere.
And they are spending $5 million and mail pieces are hitting now. Nobody knows who this group is. So that's a bit of a mystery and very interesting to me.
That is. Yeah, bizarre. Yeah.
Do we live in a universe, in the universe of things that are possible? Could a guy like A. Clark Dean, somebody, you're talking about a dark horse now, we know Raffensperger, we know Burt Jones, we know Chris Carr. Could somebody people don't know, is this universe even compliant for somebody like that?
If Clark Dean had asked me for his opinion, for my opinion, I would have said, Clark, do you have $10 million of your own money to put in? Because
takes money.
The other guys have about, Carr and Jones have about 30% name ID in the state, which isn't all that high for statewide elected officials, but that's where it is. Now, Kemp has, universal name ID, and interestingly, because of a quirk of history, so does Raffensperger, right? Everybody knows his name and who he is.
Right.
But nobody knows who Clark Dean is. I mean, Clark Dean's 0%. So he would have to spend $10 million just to be competitive, and he's got to go tell people who he is first before he can tell them his vision for Georgia.
Yeah, you were probably around. You probably remember Guy Milner trying twice to do that.
Wow.
Yes, that's right. And look, a lot of these self-finance guys don't turn out to be particularly good candidates. because they were selected for their bank account, not for their talents. And I think so we see this like Trump's sort of he's a unique character in many ways, but one of them is he's sort of a self-made man or a wealthy man who also just has like really extraordinary political talents.
Yeah, that's right. No, an anomaly, no doubt about it. Well, Brian, I greatly appreciate you. I know you're a busy man taking the time to visit. This is very insightful for us and our listeners, and look forward to having you back sometime, maybe during the legislative session, to give us an update what you see taking place down in the Gold Dome.
I'm happy to do it, Mark and Tim. Always a pleasure.
Take care, man.
Yeah,
Merry
absolutely.
Christmas.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, Tim and I are going to start hashing this stuff out.
This is Q92.3 WMOQ FM, Bostwick, Monroe, Madison. Your home for real country.
Here comes the season for believing, and you better believe that Covington Ford wants to be your #1 local Ford dealer. To prove it, they're giving you a lifetime powertrain warranty on nearly all new Fords they have in inventory. For instance, pick a new F-150, get 0% for 60 months below invoice pricing, a lifetime warranty, and one less worry on your plate. Some restrictions may apply, so call for details 770-863-3432, located in Covington.
This Christmas, K&D Shoes and Conyers has got the perfect gifts for the man on your Christmas list. Check out their huge selection of rugged workwear to athletic footwear from Hoka. Help him step out in style, and a brand new pair of jeans from Marriott. Great for work or a night on the town. If boots are on the Christmas list, see their great selection of boots from Marriott, Georgia Boot, Rocky, Brunt, and more. Not sure what to buy? Then check out the gift cards. One size fits all. This Christmas, your one-stop shop for the man on your Christmas list is K&D Shoes. Open Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sunday from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. 2240 Dogwood Drive in Conyers. That's K&D Shoes in Conyers. To learn more, go to kndshoes.com. Merry Christmas from K&D Shoes.
Serving Loganville and the surrounding area for over 25 years, it's the Main Street Barbershop, 305 Main Street next to Braxton's Auction in downtown Loganville, offering old-fashioned service and modern-day styles. Appointments available and walk-ins welcome. Open Tuesday through Saturday with a friendly staff and atmosphere. That's Main Street Barbershop in downtown Loganville. Call 770-554-3300 or go to mainstreetbarberloganville.com to learn more.
Here's Evan Youngblood for Youngblood Tractor in Madison.
Did you know Youngblood Tractor is much more than just tractors? Sure, we have the biggest selection of Massey Ferguson tractors around and all the attachments you could ever need. But did you know we also carry the Kawasaki side-by-side lineup like the legendary Kawasaki Mule, Terex, and Ridge? That's Kawasaki's new cab model with heat and AC. Youngblood Tractor also carries the complete Spartan zero-turn mower lineup from residential to commercial zero-turn mowers. Combine that with our massive trailer inventory of equipment, dump, enclosed, and utility trailers, you can always build a winning combination at Youngblood Tractor right here in Madison. We also feature a full parts and service department to help maintain your equipment for years to come. Whether you're a full-time farmer, hunter, or property owner looking to maintain your land, Youngblood Tractor is here to make your next outdoor project a success. Call us today at 706-342-2242 or stop by and see us at 1600 Athens Highway in Madison or shop us 24 hours a day at youngbloodtractor.com.
And welcome back to the Marc McMain Show, joined by Tim Bryant, Georgia's Morning News. He's on from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. every morning on WMOQ, Q92.3. Tim, that was a great session with Brian. He's obviously a brilliant man as it pertains to politics. I met him a few years ago when he came and spoke at the Walton County GOP, and that was the first time I got to see him in action. And boy, he has a grip on what's going on.
Yeah, he's plugged in and he's accessible, and that the latter thing is the most important to me. I mean, do you answer my call? Do you return my call?
Right.
Do you come on my show when I need you to? And he's always there. He's always accessible, and he's one of those guys. We're back and forth with text a lot. Okay, tell me what's going on over here. What's happening in that race? Does this guy have a chance over there? Does that guy have a chance?
Yeah.
He was instrumental, and I mean, tales out of school here. He helped me track the 2024 presidential election in a way that turned out to be pretty precisely accurate.
So he had a pulse on maybe what was going to happen?
I'm trying to remember it, and it doesn't matter, but I was trying to remember it. He goes 7 for 7 on swing state predictions. He came pretty darn close. I think we both thought Pennsylvania was out of reach, but other than that, he was spot on. I think most of what he had to say about that.
You know, it's funny you brought that up because there was a guy that was, I can't remember his name, and I would love to have him on a show because he was a data analysis and he would go, or data analyst, where he would go and he would look at a myriad of different metrics, if you will, on what would take place and what took place historically and what that looks like now. And just like you said, he had kind of carved out a modeling that almost resembled what took place election night. So there's so much more that goes into predicting this stuff now than used to.
I'll tell you what, toward the end of the campaign last year, the 2024 campaign, toward the end of the last 3 weeks, I stopped looking at polls, really. I mean, I'd look at them and I'd see them, but I started paying attention to, and Real Clear Politics would give you this every day. You can find it elsewhere.
Yep.
I would look at the betting line.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I say this when we're talking sports, I say you're talking a presidential election, anything else. Vegas doesn't care who wins. They're the most objective source you could possibly find. You know, all these people about playoff committees and ranking teams and all this stuff. Vegas doesn't care about any of that. Vegas just wants to make money, which makes them completely nonpartisan, bipartisan, objective. And I began to notice that consistently Donald Trump was leading in the betting odds, and by actually a fairly significant amount. And so I kind of, the last 2-3 weeks of the campaign, I had a pretty good feeling that Trump was going to win the thing.
Well, it'd be fun to have one of those guys on that do the deep dive, because that's what Vegas does. Is they're going to go, if you look at a football game, they're going to look at, is it on turf, is it on grass, is the wind blowing this way, what's the kicker's history when, this is on the line. So they look at all these, hundreds of data points to determine, like you said, what is going to be the outcome versus what they want to be the outcome. So same thing is to take these data guys and have them come in and do a deep dive and understand, because what I did when I was learning about this and I was researching this particular fellow that I'm telling you about, well, I'll dig his name up at some point. I kept his information, and this was a good maybe a month before the election that I saw his data being presented online. I kept it in case he won. And I wanted to then go back and compare and say, how close were you? Because how often that we've seen somebody that predict something and then they're way off.
Sure, and then you never hear from them again. It's almost like being a weather forecaster on TV. It doesn't matter if you're wrong.
Right.
We just keep coming back to you.
Yeah, just keep spitting it back out. Let's get local for a second here, and you're going to have a much better grip on what's taking place in Athens than I do. Tell us about the mayoral race. What do you know?
There's a really simple formula for determining the outcome of any Athens mayoral race. Look for the candidate who's farthest left and put your money on him or her, as the case may be. And actually, there are a couple of folks. Tim Denson would probably fit that label, being the farthest left. He's a former Athens Clark County Commissioner. He ran for mayor. Ironically, Tim Denson ran against Nancy Denson in a race that Nancy Denson won some years ago. He's now on the Clark County School Board. Great guy.
Are they related?
No, not at all, as far as we know.
Yeah.
But he's a good guy, and he's just in that spectrum. There are, I'm trying to run through the math here, about a half dozen candidates who've announced. Again, nobody's a candidate till they qualify. But
sure.
People who've announced. He'd be the one who'd be the farthest left. The one who's going to give him the biggest run for the money in that arena is a lady by the name of Lakeisha Gant, who also serves on the school board there in Athens and has, in fact, served as the school board president. A black female, which is going to be to her benefit in a community that votes 65% Democrat. It may be that she squeezes him out of the mayor's race in terms of being the one farthest left.
Okay.
Over on the right side of the spectrum, you have a couple of folks to look at. Another black Athens Clark County Commissioner, a guy by the name of Dexter Fisher, is again, these are nonpartisan elections.
Sure.
So everybody knows who everybody is.
Right.
Mara Zuniga will be probably somewhere to the right of him. She ran unsuccessfully in the last mayoral election.
I remember that. Yep.
Those two are going to fight it out for that portion of the vote.
Okay.
And over here on the left, Denson and Gant are going to fight for that portion of the vote. And there's a chance with that many candidates that some combination of those two, left, right, one representing each side of the spectrum, end up in a runoff.
Is there not going to be some level of fatigue, though, from people in Athens, Clark County, after what they just went through, even Democrats voting to get Deborah Gonzalez out? Isn't there fatigue from those that they're just tired of the far left radical policies?
No. Not in Athens, no.
They just can't get enough of it.
No, exactly. It's the most predictable outcome. You look at your presidential election, you look at your gubernatorial election. Brian Kemp is from Athens, and he lost Athens by, 65-35, which is about where it always breaks down.
Okay.
And so, no, is the short answer to that. You look at the map, you always see, the red-blue map, and there's this big ocean of red that is, I keep slamming the microphone, there's this big ocean of red, and then there's this little tiny blue dot in what is geographically the smallest landmass county in the state and the second smallest in the country. But it is so predictable, you can set your calendar by it, that every 4 years, every 2 years, they're going to go 65, sometimes 70% Democrat. I don't see that ending in my lifetime. If anything, and we always have this conversation, which is going to happen first? Athens goes red, Oconee County goes blue. Well, neither of those things are going to happen.
Right.
But Oconee County is going to become bluer before Clark County becomes redder. That's already happening.
Yeah, because people are moving from Clark County.
Exactly.
They're migrating to Oconee County.
The faculty types, they don't want to live in Athens, and they don't want to pay the exorbitant property taxes either, so they move over, but they take their votes with them.
Yeah, they can't stand the far left policies, but they go someplace else and they vote far left. It's just mind blowing. You listen to the Marc McMain Show. Tim Bryan and I are hashing out some stuff right here, talking local politics. Let's go over to 121 in your backyard again. That obviously flipped to the Democrat side, like Brian was talking about a minute ago. I've looked at some of your comments about this, and I think you and I differ a little bit. I'm very confident this goes back into the Republicans' hands, but you're not so sure.
Well, I would bet that way.
Yeah.
Just by mathematics, it's Oconee County comprises 2/3 of that district, and Oconee County is a red county. Clark County is a blue county. But
right.
My wife was telling me, well, they all turn out again. No, there aren't enough of them, Democrats, to flip that district in a race in which there's going to be a governor on the ballot and a senator on the ballot, and folks going to want the folks in Oconee County hopefully will turn out. If for some reason they don't, then there would be a problem. But I think that's exceeding. Like we've already seen this happen. Jonathan Wallace a few years ago won the seat. Marcus Wiedauer flipped it back a year later. And,
2017.
Yeah, in the same scenario, special election.
It's just bizarre that the PSC race was just terrible turnout for the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought, okay, there'd be a resurgence of people would wake up, maybe a wake-up call. Hey, this just happened. We can't let it happen again. And lo and behold, it happened again.
Well, it actually got worse. 41% voter turnout in Oconee County for the PSC election, 30 for the.
It dropped 11 points for the House race.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah, that's a stunner. I don't get it. I don't understand how people are staying home. Mind-blowing. Let's talk about down ballot in Georgia, going back to the next November's election. Mm-hmm. What do you see there being an effect? You talk about that will probably benefit the 120 run race. But what other things are we looking for? Brian was talking about the governor's race is going to be a big deal for the state of Georgia. I still think Georgia is a red state. Many say it's a purple state. But where do you think this goes if the governor's race in November shifts one way or another? Does that then create a chain of events for everything else that takes place?
I think as the governor's race goes, every other race goes. It's difficult for me to imagine a scenario where, just for example, a Republican, whoever it might be, wins the governor's race, and whoa, look at that, the insurance commissioner went to the Democrats. I don't know how that would happen.
So it's just a turnout deal at that point.
Yeah, and then people straight line party voting.
Yeah. Going back to Athens, what do you think resonates with voters in Athens? So is it more social policy, free stuff? What is the far left? What are they trying to feed on?
Yeah, it's all of the above. What can you give me? What is for free? The Tim Denson, for example, as an Athens Clark County commissioner, worked to get quote unquote free bus fare, the Athens transit system free bus fare.
Following Mondami's approach.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I always say it this way, and you know this, everybody who understands anything understands it isn't free, because you know why? Because we pay the bus driver.
Somebody's paying for it.
Somebody's putting the fuel in that bus and the tires on that bus and maintaining that bus and buying that bus and all of those other things. It isn't free. It's a question of who's paying for it. But if you can take it off my plate and it becomes free to me, then I'm going to vote for you. And that's the way that a lot of these people look at it. Plus all the social justice stuff, too. Athens is as woke as it ever was. And that Summer of Love stuff, the George Floyd summer of 2020,
right.
That's still the mindset.
Right in their wheelhouse. Chastity, if you ever go on a vacation to a tropical resort, they will tease you with, hey, we're going to give you a free lunch. You just got to sit and listen to our 90-minute seminar. Don't ever do that if you've never have, because that may be the most expensive free lunch that you've ever attended in your life.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
They're going to force feed something on you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. You're listening.
I get a kick out of it. You're driving down the interstate, free Wi-Fi at our hotel. Dog, it's built into the price of what I pay for the room.
That's right.
I try to explain this to my wife. Well, if we order here, we get free shipping. Darn it ain't free. They put it on a truck. The truck driver gets paid. There's nothing free here.
Somebody's paying for it somewhere. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, we're going to talk about Georgia's upcoming legislative session.
Looking for that perfect piece of jewelry designed just for you? At P&A Jewelers, family owned since 1976, we've been helping our customers shine for nearly 50 years. Now proudly run by second-generation brother and sister team, we specialize in custom jewelry design, expert repair work, and fine jewelry for every occasion. Visit P&A Jewelers, where family tradition sparkles. Located in Loganville beside Quick Trip, or online at shoppajewelers.com. Follow us on Facebook to see what's new.
Get a great deal on a Kubota tractor. Built to work, built to last, and as dependable as you are. Right now, write it off the lot and write it off your taxes with 0 down, 5.49% APR up to 84 months, plus instant cash discount and 2 years orange protection warranty. Now through December 31st. Consult your tax advisor. Details at KubotaUSA.com.
Your Kubota dealer is Hayes Tractor, 545 Highway 11 South and Social Circle. Go to HayesTractor.com.
Have you been putting off auto repairs? Do you want a body shop you know and trust? Go see Auto Correct Collision. Auto Correct is a family-owned and operated collision center with over 45 years of experience. Their equipment and training exceed industry standards. No repair is too big or small. Ask about the special drawings and mention this ad for a discount. Visit Auto Correct Collision at 409 Mayfield Drive or call them at 770-207-1241.
Anytime is a great time to make memories at the Yellow River Wildlife Sanctuary in Lilburn. Close to home and fun for the entire family. Not only will you see wildlife up close, like bears, otters, bison, and more, you can enjoy a picnic lunch. There's gem mining and so much more. The Yellow River Wildlife Sanctuary, 4525 Highway 78 in Lilburn. Make plans to visit soon. To learn more, go to YellowRiverWildlifeSanctuary.com.
Welcome back. Marc McMain, joined by Tim Bryant. He is the host of Georgia's Morning News. You can hear him every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m.
By the way, about that, the feedback I'm getting, I don't know what kind of feedback you're getting, but I mean, the social media stuff, all of a sudden I got all these people from Monroe popping into my
got a new fan base.
Yeah, I guess so. So, hey, guys.
Yeah, we love it. Yeah, we love having you on the show. I mean, and think about this. Our station, Tim, we go from Walton County, Barrow, Morgan, down, we'll reach Lake Oconee, and of course back into Athens. So it's a good footprint. So yeah, people are loving the bringing the news that you're bringing them to them every morning. Tim, I figured in this segment here, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming legislative session. Brian alluded to the fact that it was nothing big. Obviously we had the tort reform last year. So are you hearing anything different as you interview different legislators as to what's on the horizon?
One thing, and I want to tie this back, bring this back to House District 121. The reason Marcus Wiedauer's name's kind of known around the state is the issue of gambling.
Yep.
He picked up that gambling ball and made it his own there. The committee that met over the course of the summer and the fall that looked at the legislation that'll be introduced by way of trying to get it on the ballot as a constitutional amendment, and suddenly he ain't there anymore. I mean, really suddenly he's not there anymore to I don't want to say carry that water, but to lead that legislative effort. And I don't know who is. I don't know that it's going to. I know the lobbyists are going to be there. They always are.
Yep.
But I don't know, legislatively speaking, who fills his void. It wouldn't have been Dutch Guest had he won the election. He'd be too new. It's going to be somebody who's there and has an affinity for the bill. I don't know who that is. I say bill, it's going to end up, again, as a constitutional amendment, as everybody would know. It has to have 2/3 majority in the House and Senate to get on the ballot as a constitutional amendment, a proposed constitutional amendment. And I don't know who's going to lead that fight in the House.
Yeah, I don't either. You're right, because that was something Marcus was touting. Anything else that you're hearing from the legislators? Any other issues that are coming up?
I always say it this way. There will, the one thing the legislature is constitutionally compelled to do is pass a budget, pass a balanced budget, and get the governor to sign it. They could do that the first day and leave. I sometimes wonder why they don't. Beyond that, there's always something that suddenly pops up as a surprise issue. Last year, this time a year ago, nobody was saying, what's going to be the red hot issue by the time we get around to February, March? Everybody's going to be yelling and screaming about speed zone cameras in school zones.
Yeah.
And yet, by the end of last year's session, everybody was hot and bothered one way or the other about that particular issue. That one will come up again. Washburn down there in Macon is talking about bringing it up again in some amended form or whatever. That'll be a thing, but there's always the surprise thing. I've been around here long enough to remember when Roy Barnes, and it's probably one of the things that got him beat back in whatever the year was, 2002. Sitting around one day, not much going on, and just slow news day. Next thing you know, he's out there changing the state flag, and so there's always that issue. Seems like every session there's always that issue that wasn't an issue and becomes one, and so I'm always anxious to see what that is.
Let me ask your opinion on something. What is your opinion of? Let's go back to the school zone cameras. What's your opinion of a committee that's maybe hearing the initial phase of that to decide whether they're going to advance this to become a bill and get voted into law? What is your opinion of somebody on a committee who is receiving money from a group that is pushing either for or against that?
Well, you just asked me to describe the entire legislative process.
But don't you think it behooves ourselves to be sure that we have no conflicts of interest, to have people initially doing that, or is it impossible? The numbers just not there.
The genie's out of the bottle there. How far back you want to go with this? Let's talk about all the pharmaceutical reps who were wandering the halls.
Yeah.
And all these others. Everybody who has an interest in anything. The gambling thing, the casino folks are going to be there. The horse racing, pony racing, sports betting folks are going to be there, and they're pumping money and the alcohol. The alcohol distributors, the beer distributors, one of the biggest lobbyists and contributing to campaigns and candidates there is. And that's why do you think it's been so hard for so many years for Billy Bob with his brew pub to get his foot in the door to sell his product? It's because listen, when these lawmakers are bought by some of these big beer distributors, they stay bought.
And you know what? The constituents don't want that. I think there's a certain level of ethics and boundaries that they want their elected officials to have. And like I said, I find it a conflict of interest that if you're sitting on a committee and you're discussing whether something's going to advance or not, and you're taking money from the opposition or for the pro side of that conversation.
The problem that you run into, and I understand your point, the problem you run into, and I always say it this way, another word for lobbyist is citizen. And I have the right as a citizen to go to the Capitol and speak to my legislator about what I would like to have happen with a piece of legislation. And if that happens to come with a campaign contribution, well, I'm going to give it to you because the other guy doesn't want my bill to pass.
Right. Yeah. So that's why I ask these questions to you. To break it down. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. Let's talk about income tax for a second. Do you see continued erosion of this tax to get this down? I think it currently sits at 5.14, 5.12. Where do you think this winds up at the end of the session?
And the folks who may listen to my morning show have heard this before. I had an epiphany not long ago. I was on the side of let's eliminate the income tax. I get to keep that money. Let's eliminate the income tax. And I say that understanding that, okay, well, maybe your sales tax will go up or some other way, though. And then it occurred to me that every tax is an income tax. I don't have any other way to pay taxes. Every tax, whatever you call it, the sales tax, the property tax, the excise tax, there is no tax you collect from me that is not a tax on my income. So if you make the income tax zero tomorrow, how am I supposed to pay the sales tax? With my income. Right. There is no other tax, so I'm less enthusiastic about that. Lower it as much as you can. And as Chris Carr's talking about this, Burt Jones he's all of his chips to the middle of the table on eliminating the income tax. Chris Carr is saying, no, let's reduce the tax burden. a little bit about my business and my business model. I mean, I don't get paid the same every 2 weeks. It depends on how much billing I have coming in.
Right.
You're a business owner, you understand that. And so I take what I think is coming in and I add it all up and then I subtract 33%. Because that's what's going out the door in the form of taxes.
That's right.
And if you can reduce 33% to 23%, then my life gets better. And so I'm all about reducing the tax burden, whatever you want to call the tax, income tax, sales tax, good Lord, property tax. We are to the point now, my wife and I talking about this, we can afford the mortgage. It's that property tax that hits us every year that's going to someday be the reason we're not in our house anymore.
No, you're right. It's a massive burden, and add on top of that what it costs to insure your home. Mm-hmm. Insurance costs have doubled, if not, or 50% or doubled in the past few years, and so I think, it's absolutely outrageous. Just insuring your vehicle now, Tim, is a fortune.
Yeah, well, I mean, and the whole premise of property tax, you ever think of it this way? It's based on what your home is worth. How do we know what my home is worth? The only time we know what my home is worth is when you buy it from me.
Right.
That's the one time we know what my property is worth. But you've got this guy sitting in the assessor's office writing Stephen King fiction, deciding that my property is worth X amount of dollars because, I don't know, the guy down the street was. And it's fantasy.
Yeah.
And yet our entire system of funding local government is based on it.
No, and it's a huge chunk. You're right. I mean, it is a massive burden upon homeowners. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. We're sitting down with Tim Bryant. He's the host of Georgia Morning News, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on WMOQ, Q92.3.
Let me ask you something. You're the one running for Senate. Where are you on the income tax?
Look, I want to see it get down as far as we can as well. I'm a fiscal conservative. What I don't want to do is play a shell game. I don't want to reduce this or eliminate it and just put it someplace else because that's all it is a shell game at that point. Right. So if we can continue to reduce it and base it upon the fact that we are maybe making up for it on a vacation tax like Florida does. I think they call it an occupancy tax. I think that's great. People love to come to Georgia on vacation. There's discussion about closing corporate loopholes that are benefits that are real fringe benefits. Look, I'm a business owner, and nothing's more disappointing to me, Tim, to find out that my competitor gets a break that I don't get.
Yeah.
But we're in the same field, so to speak, right? But maybe because he's in television and I'm in print, I don't get that break.
Yeah.
But we're also calling on the same customers. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So if we can eliminate those types of things, let's keep knocking this thing down. That's what I'll be curious to see what they can do this session, because in order to get it to zero, and they're a long way from zero, it's $18 billion of revenue, that the 5.14% or whatever that number is. So that is a huge amount of money that you have to make up someplace else. So as a business guy, I look at it and say, there's a lot of work to do if you're actually going to eliminate this. A lot of work to do, and where does it come from?
Yep.
It doesn't get made up magically.
All those other states have done it, and with 7 or 8 states that have done it, and a couple more that are in the pipeline to do it. And well, okay, that's one of the beautiful things about having 49 states, 50 if you include California. It's a good thing that we can look at other states and see what they've done.
And my biggest concern is that there are some incredibly brilliant, talented people who are leaders of industry that are looking at other states, maybe that are currently here or considering to move to Georgia, but they're looking at other states because of the income tax situation. So we don't want to lose those, right? We want to be sure those people set up shop here. And so it's that continued attempt to knock this thing down. But like you said, where does it wind up? I don't know. And there's a lot to be made up on $18 billion. And you're not going to just make that up with an occupation tax. Yeah, that's right. It's half the budget. Exactly. Let's talk about new business. Georgia, I think, is considered by many to be a very business-friendly state. I think there are hurdles and burdens that are placed upon business owners that still can be overwhelming. I've owned and started and sold many businesses, and so I've been through that where there's certain things. I'll tell you what, the most complex business I've ever owned is a radio station. FCC compliance.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about federal law.
Oh, yeah, the FCC. Yeah.
Well, and you know what I'll tell you, and this just goes back to the federal side of the world. I'm a franchisor, so I have to deal with federal law when it comes to franchising, and also the radio station with the FCC license. It is quite apparent to me that those that sit down and craft this language and craft these laws have never owned a business in their life.
Absolutely. I'll give you a quick example of that. You remember George McGovern, obviously. Senator, South Dakota, massive loser in the 1972 presidential election, I think the most one-sided presidential election in American history. He was way left, obviously. He finally, at some point, retires from the Senate, goes back to South Dakota, buys a hotel.
Okay.
He famously said this: "If I had known the difficulty in operating a business under our regulations, I would have voted. I'd have cast some different votes in the Senate." No further questions, Your Honor.
Biggest eye opener.
Yeah.
Get there and do it yourself and realize what you're putting us through. Yeah, stunning. Mark McMain Show. We come back more with Tim Bryant.
This Christmas shopping season, give the gift of outdoors from Outdoor Specialty, serving Watkinsville and the surrounding area since 2002 with a wide variety of plants, trees, shrubs, ground cover, and more. Plus, you'll find a full line of irrigation supplies like sprinkler heads, pipe replacement parts, and more. Add some beauty to someone's home with a huge selection of pottery, landscape stones, mulch, and more. In the garden center, see their great selection of bird houses, bird feeders, and don't forget the Cole's bird seed. The deer love Christmas too. Be sure to pick up some of Elsie's apple-flavored deer corn. This Christmas, stop in and say hello to Elsie, Diane, and their friendly staff at Outdoor Specialty, 1460 Greensboro Highway in Watkinsville. Wishing you and your family the very best this Christmas season. Call 706-769-8737 or go to OutdoorSpecialtyNursery.com.
Folks, are you tired of the hustle and bustle of the malls? Remember as a kid when you would go to the store with your grandparents and pick out your favorite candy? Come to Patrick's in Covington for an old-fashioned Christmas that will take you back to those times. They have the largest selection of old-time candy in the area. Favorites include orange slices, pralines, coconut macaroons, chocolate-covered peanuts, and peanut clusters. Patrick's also has fresh whole shelled pecans as well as glazed, bourbon, cinnamon, roasted, salted, chocolate-covered, and other flavors. If you want a gift you know your family will love, choose from their fresh fruit basket or a gift basket of home-style preserves, chow-chow, candy, and other goodies. Don't see exactly what you want? Gather up the goodies you'd like from the large selection of candies, preserves, and pecans, and they'll make a custom gift just for you. Whether you want to relive these happy childhood memories or make new ones with your children and grandchildren, go to Patrick's for a Christmas that will take you back in time. Start your own family tradition at Patrick's, located on the bypass in Covington, 770-786-3220.
Make sure your diesel is ready for every season by stopping in at Leadfoot Diesel. Their technicians have many years of combined experience to keep your Cummins, Power Stroke, and Duramax running the way it should. Plus, they can improve fuel mileage, perform upgrades, AC repair, and they offer tires, wheels, lift kits, and more. Diesel owners from all over the country trust Leadfoot Diesel, 320 Mayfield Drive in Monroe. Stop in or go to leadfootdiesel.com.
Are you looking for new tires? Well, look no further than Madison Car Care. They have the largest selection and you'll always get the best price. They also handle a wide range of auto repairs, from the small things like oil changes and wiper blades to the big things like suspension, parts, and radiators. They offer all kinds of accessories, from toolboxes to bed covers, side steps, and they even install those awesome ranch hand bush guards. Give them a call at 706-342-4774 or stop by at 1040 Confederate Road in Madison.
Welcome back. Marc McMain, Tim Bryant. Tim, in the break we were discussing, just following up on what I closed the last segment with, which is, do our government leaders, have they ever lived a day in our shoes? Do they do what we do? I think that's why people who have, and you don't have to be a business owner, Tim, but people who have lived the life, I think they can bring a lot to elected office.
I was telling you, I look at the Athens-Clarke County Commission again. I'm in Athens, and I just watched the makeup, the composition of that commission. It's actually, there have been years, there have been cycles where you look on that, as we call it, behind the rail, where the commission meets at City Hall. All 10 people, not one of them would have any private sector experience. They'd all be, half of them working for the university and the others in other areas of government. Never mind not owning a business, they never worked for one. No
That's
private
right.
sector experience at all. Government shapes their entire existence. And I don't know that I'm being critical of that, but I would like more representation, right? Somebody on my local government, my mayor, my county commissioner, somebody who at some point in his or her life has signed not only the back of a check, but maybe the front of a few.
I love that. You're right. And the famous one that you constantly hear is I was a community organizer,
Oh, God.
right? I mean, that one kind of
I'm an
makes me
activist.
cringe.
Oh,
yeah.
Lord.
And so what does that mean? And I look at it through the lens of when you have, whether you've owned a business, you just worked in the real world. I mean, I think there's a value to say it. If you were going to run for United States Congress, there's a value to saying, hey, do we have farmers up there? Do we have people that worked in the ag industry? Do we have, and we get some of that, right? But I think there's an overrepresentation in our federal government and our state government of people who really haven't gotten in the trenches and done things, right? And gone through.
Which is why Donald Trump is such a shock to the system.
That's right.
This is a guy whose entire life, his entire business career is building things.
That's
Actually,
right.
that wasn't there before until I built it. That's his impetus. That's his driving
Yep.
force. And he's running into all of the inertia that is government.
I think the other danger is, too, that if you are to send somebody as an elected official into government, whether they're in your state government, federal government, and they haven't demonstrated some moniker of success, meaning that they're really looking for that next paycheck every single week, every single month, you may have a group of people that are prone or open or suspect or subject to fraud, right? There may be an appetite for that. So let's take a look at what's taking place in Minnesota. And I have not done a deep dive on this, but they're saying that there's so much fraud that's taken place in Minnesota, it could have cost taxpayers up to $2 billion in total losses. Tim, the constituents, the voters, the average Joe, we're sick of that. We're sick of hearing that our federal government is either accidentally wasting money or, in this case, purposely, fraudulently wasting money.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Sometimes you ascribe evil to something when ineptitude is a better answer. But either outcome is bad for me as a taxpayer. But there does appear to be, at least in some aspects of the Minnesota case, there does appear to be some actual evil in that some of the money, we believe, has been funneled off to some of these Somali terror groups.
Yep. Well, and it's so bad that you've actually got some with, and this is a Republican that made this quote. State Senator Michael Kroon said that Minnesota may be the epicenter of fraud in the United States. So this is like the crown jewel of bad stuff.
How often, I know we're down here in Georgia, how often in your life, in your day-to-day walking around, how often do you think of Minnesota? You just happen to have a cousin there. How often does Minnesota even cross your mind? Hey, the Vikings are playing. I mean, you don't think about Minnesota. And suddenly, of all the places, it turns out to be maybe among the most. Then we always have to couch this. This is the one we know about.
Well, the scandals include the Feeding Our Future case. They have programs like housing stabilization services. Investigators found fabricated business addresses and non-existent offices. I mean, so this is like an orchestrated scheme, right? This wasn't, one guy that said, hey, I'm going to pocket $100,000 on my own. These are people or entities that have formed to defraud the government out of huge money.
And if they're doing that with this, if they're doing this with the welfare system, it's a fair question to ask. And I'm not one of these stolen election types, but it is a fair question to ask. If this is what they're doing with the welfare system, in this case, what might they be doing with the voting system?
That's a great point. Yeah, didn't even cross my mind. But yeah, if you're going to demonstrate the aptitude to cheat and defraud in one category, you're going to do it in just about every category, right? You're not going to all of a sudden have this idea of, hey, we're going to do this the right way, but I'm going to be, a hack over here. Yeah. I don't know what comes of this. Oftentimes, again, what frustrates me just as a regular citizen, as a voter, as a constituent, is we hear these stories and then nothing comes of it. And that's concerning.
Well, think of it this way. I mean, Tim Walz was reasonably close to becoming the vice president of the United States. Yeah. And one of two things is true in his case, in his oversight of what's happening in the state he serves as governor. Either he's complicit in all of this, or he's inept.
That's right.
And I had no idea this was going on. That might be worse.
Yeah, you're negligent or you're part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
And this guy was one step away from being the second most powerful man in the United States. Exactly. And so, and any CEO of any company, any president of any company will tell you the buck stops with me. right? So if there's something that your company is doing that's failing or faltering, it's on you. You don't get to say, internally you can say, man, that stinks, I need to make changes, but publicly you got to own it. And you got to absorb it, and you got to figure out how to deal with it.
I just know what I see, and I know what I read, and it looks as though he's just hoping, okay, this too shall pass. This will just blow over. This is too big to blow over. This is blowing up.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and point the finger that it's always Democrats that do this. In this case, it looks like it is part of the Democratic regime that's doing this, but there's been plenty on the Republican side. Whether you go look at Congress, you go look at governors, you look at Senate elections, whatever it may be, there's always people on both sides that have done dumb stuff.
First Liberty Building and Loan, Coweta County.
Mercy.
You're familiar with
Forgot about that
story. That there's a guy, that Christian conservative, and all of my Republican candidates and campaigns, yes, with Ponzi scheme money.
You know what sucks about that one, Tim? These are all terrible, but with this one here, you've had people that have lost their fortunes.
Sure.
It's one thing if it's taxpayer dollars. I think it still hurts, but that can be distributed. But with this one here, you've had people that maybe trusted this family with their life savings, their retirement, and now that's evaporated.
I'm to the point where I'm starting to wonder about what to do with my money. Putting it under a mattress starts to sound good.
There's no interest under the mattress, though, Tim.
That's true enough, and the house might burn. But there's no good answer.
Oh, I'm an advocate for diversification. It's like you got to put your money in multiple places. You can't just have it in one, because if the ship sinks in that one, then you're out of luck. But if you put it in 4 or 5 places, this is part of what I teach, Tim, when I go do financial literacy courses for the young people. It's like, hey, don't put your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Diversify. That's the magic. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. When we come back, Tim, we're gonna have some levity in our final section. I figure we'll talk some sports. I know you always have a great sports section on your show every morning. You really do a deep dive, and I listen to your sports, Tim.
Sure.
You know what you're talking about. So
I can fake it.
Well, we're gonna dig into that in this next section.
If you're selling or buying a home, you should call AM/PM Septic to inspect your septic tank. This could save you on costly repairs. AM/PM pumps your tank, fixes septic alarms, drain lines. They can fix any problem you're having with your septic tank. Call 770-231-7979. They do inspection letters. AM/PM is family owned and operated, licensed and insured company. Call David for all your septic needs. 770-231-7979.
Big news, Georgia drivers. DJ's Collision is on the move and is proud to announce their brand new home in Madison. After many years of service in Social Circle, the same team you know and trust is back with a fresh new look and location to serve you best. From flawless paint jobs to complete bodywork, DJ's Collision is where your car gets a second chance to shine. Check out their brand new location in Madison at 1231 Woodcraft Road. That's DJ's Collision. Give them a call at 770-760-8214.
Franklin's Gun Shop in Athens has everything you need for hunting and fishing. They have great prices on their guns, ammo, scopes, bows, gun safes, knives, blinds, tree stands, and rod and reels, clothing, and more. I do all of my shopping at Franklin's, and they're open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 9 to 9 and Sunday noon to 6. At Franklin's, you'll get great customer service from people who know what they're talking about. Family owned since 1961, located at 3941 Atlanta Highway in Athens.
The holiday season is in full swing at Boss Brothers, and there's one event you don't want to miss. Join us Saturday, December 13th from 9 to noon for Pictures with Farmer Santa. It's a Christmas tradition for so many local families, bringing the kids, bringing the pets, and capturing a moment that just feels like home. Enjoy a sweet treat from our festive candy wagon and browse great gift ideas throughout the store. Celebrate the season with your hometown favorite, Boss Brothers, located at 3084 Highway 78 in Loganville.
Welcome back, Marc McMain, Tim Bryant. We've dug into a lot of stuff in this past 2 hours, hour and a half so far, Tim, and a lot of it was heavy duty. We talked about fraud, we talked about taxes, we talked about politics. Let's have some fun now and talk about some sports. What's your feeling for the Bulldogs? This is one concern I have is they have 3 weeks off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. At some point, you need the recovery, but at some point, I think it starts to get you rusty.
I don't know. What I would want to do, you mentioned the gamblers earlier, they can tell you, they can look back. Okay, well, the times the teams had the 3 weeks off, they did X or they did Y, and they'll tell you what the trend there is. I think listen, anytime I don't have to go out and butt heads with somebody on a weekend, that makes me better off the next weekend.
Your body needs to heal.
Think about that.
Yeah. Well, and let's face it, Kirby, we know runs a hard practice.
They're going to practice harder. They're going to hit harder. They're going to hit more often in practice than they might on Saturday.
Think of that. Yeah. So any games
better players too.
Yeah, that's right. The B team on the Bulldogs are better than most teams' A team. I'm going to talk about a couple different things here. The first one is, should Alabama have made it into the playoffs with 3 losses?
Yes, and the reason I'm going to say that is this: Alabama being in doesn't necessarily concern me. You want to argue about Notre Dame or some of the other teams that maybe didn't get in Texas. We want to have that argument. And people tell me and explain to me why it had to be this way. I only know that I woke up in a world where James Madison is in the playoffs and Notre Dame isn't.
Yeah,
and that strikes me as insane. They've come up with this system that Notre Dame is clearly better than some of the teams that are in these playoffs. Tulane and I'm carrying water for Notre Dame, but if we're gonna name the 12 best teams in the country, none of us are going to include Tulane or James Madison.
Well, and you just hit the nail on the head. This is no longer a 12 best teams, and let's just be honest about it. Let's just say it's the whoever wins these certain conferences, you get in. If you're in a specific conference, what is James out of the American Conference?
That's the thing. I don't even know.
I don't know the name.
I looked it up this morning. Tulane is in the American Athletic Conference.
Okay.
Kennesaw, not in the playoffs, obviously. Kennesaw's in Conference USA. Some of the others, I honestly.
If you're going to say, hey, it's the winner of these conferences and that's how you get in, okay, then we can accept it and understand. But if you're going to say it's the 12 best teams, it's not even close. And so I think that's the frustration. And my only thing going back to Alabama, look, there's 2 ways I can win every year. Bulldogs win or Alabama loses. And so for Alabama to have been beaten the way they were beaten by Georgia, -3 rushing yards, I thought that was maybe enough to exclude them.
Well, I can say that. I can say it this way. Look, at the end of the day, you split a series with Alabama and Georgia. The problem with Alabama to me was not losing to Georgia. Problem was all the way back to week 1 when they lost to Florida State.
That's right. Good point.
A team that's 5-7, not even bowl eligible, can't even. Florida State lost to Stanford, for crying out loud.
Right.
And that team really handled Alabama. That to me is if I were looking for a problem, it wouldn't be that they lost to Georgia. Most people lose to Georgia. It's that they lost to Florida State, and I say that as a Florida State fan.
Well, and I know that you've talked about this next subject quite often on your show, the transfer portal. There's many that feel that this is going to cause long-term damage to college sports. Because think about this, where else, whether it's in business or in the professional sports world, can you not make a commitment, right, of certain times? So now with the transfer portal, you're seeing these kids bounce around. And look, I'm a firm believer of you got to go where it's best for you, but also there's something to be said about making a commitment.
Well, I did commit to. I committed to you for a year. I'm gonna play this season, and often we see that they're not even going to fulfill that commitment. I don't. You know what? I don't really feel like playing that bowl game. I'm going to be a top 10 draft pick. I'm going to get ready for that, and good luck in the Liberty Bowl. You're hearing more and more of that. Look. What we're watching in real time is the creation of another professional sport, another professional sports league with as many of the same dynamics that we see in the NFL, free agency. And contracts, and that colleges now, they even have general managers to handle things like salary caps, which are now imposed on college athletics. It's the creation of another professional sports league.
Well, and think about the challenges you now have as a coach, because no longer do you need to be just good at recruiting and coaching your team, but you also have to be good at figuring out how do you manage a disgruntled player that might consider the transfer portal.
Keep recruiting the same player over and over again.
Yeah, right.
Look who committed to us. Well, okay, suddenly now he's committed to somebody else.
Yeah. Let's talk about Michigan. This is a big black eye for the program. It's terrible what took place up there, and I've already heard that there's
which is terrible. The stealing of the signs. How far back you want to go with terrible things at Michigan? It's one thing after another up there. But now with the coach, yes, obviously.
Oh, this is going to be a blow to the program. I'm curious to see how long it takes them to find a coach because they have to get somebody in there ASAP to stop the bleeding because they're already losing some players.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why there's Kalen DeBoer at Alabama is
I've
having
heard
to answer
that name.
questions. He's having to answer questions about going to Michigan.
Yeah, how would that happen? I mean, is that something that if he loses in this the first round of this playoffs that he's
funny.
on the chopping block?
I've talked about this. Oklahoma and Alabama, they actually play tomorrow night, 8 o'clock in Norman. Both of those fan bases, coaches that the jury's still out. If you're an Alabama fan, jury's still out on Kalen DeBoer. If you're an Oklahoma fan, you aren't yet warmed up to Brent Venables. You don't know that you have that guy. And so, somebody, one of those two, it's absolutely going to happen. One of those two, the situation is going to get even worse. The yelling and screaming is going to, because they're going to lose. One team is obviously going to lose, and one coach is going to find himself of an even hotter seat. Oh, the fan base that is now more assured that maybe he's not the guy.
Well, it's been a while since Alabama's won a national championship. I think their fan base is spoiled because they won so many. That was not the norm, right? That was the New York Yankees in the late '90s, just winning.
Right.
And so I think the bar has set exponentially higher for somebody like him. And he's a good, accomplished coach. He brought Washington to the national championship game.
The man can coach. There's no question about that. No, but that's why you talk about, the Alabama fans are spoiled. So are the Georgia fans. I mean, there's this sense of entitlement now, and well earned. You know, you win back-to-back national championship. You do what Kirby Smart has done in terms of recruiting and the way that he coaches and the staff. He doesn't get enough credit for this. The staff he assembles, the people he surrounds himself with, really, really good top-flight coaches. It's a golden age, and it ain't gonna last forever. But when it's happening, you can't imagine that it ends. Clemson won 2 national championships, played for 1 or 2 more.
That's
and
right.
Suddenly now, Dabo, maybe it's passed you by. It doesn't last.
No, it doesn't. It goes quick. And there's an old saying in sales: "What have you done for me lately?" You could have had a great January, but if your March stinks, then your head is on the chopping block. Marc, McMain, Tim Bryant, we're hashing out some sports here, having a little bit of fun, a little bit of levity to the end of our show today. Let's talk about NIL. Where are you on this?
Name, image, likeness. I did not like I didn't like anything about paying college athletes because I've always believed that we do pay college athletes. Any parent who's ever stroked a tuition check knows that the athlete who's on a free ride scholarship is getting paid.
That's right.
But okay, if we had to have something, NIL, you peg it to the market, and I get what I can get, and it ain't going to be what you get, right? I'm the star quarterback. You're the backup tackle. I'm going to get more NIL money than you are. But it's based on the market, and when we can base things on the market, I'm generally in favor of it. The idea that it was going to level the playing field was absurd. What it has done is make the rich even richer.
Yeah, and I think California was kind of where this began. If you remember, Gavin Newsom said, hey, we're going to push the envelope and make this happen out here. And I don't think any of the California schools have benefited from this.
No.
So it's right back where it is, where the power is. It goes, Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, and then the surrounding schools there. But I think my only concern is when you have a situation in college where you're highly compensating certain players. If I'm a parent of one of those players, if my boy's 20 years old and he's an elite level athlete that's getting NIL money, I'm going to tell him, hey, be wise with your money, invest it. Don't go flaunt it. Because I don't think there's any faster way to, what's the word? Disenfranchise yourself from your team.
Alienate yourself from the rest of your team.
Big time. You show up in a $400,000 sports car when the center who's blocking for you, maybe mom is living in a trailer home and he's struggling.
Yeah, and he's driving an old beat up truck.
Yeah. So I just, again, I'm all about capitalism. I'm all about making as much money as you can. God bless you on that. But I'm just saying there should also be some wisdom in play.
We're going to get to a place where we're already doing it, because you understand these athletes are now paid, many in cases, by the universities. And the question then becomes, why do they have to be students? These student athletes and their grades got to keep the grades up. Why? The guy who works in the physical plant isn't a student. He's drawing a check from the university. Why do we expect the quarterback to? At some point, what we recognize as college football is going to become unrecognizable.
Yeah, and that's a concern to me. There's something authentic about college football, something precious about it that I think if this continues down that path, it starts to lose that bloom, at least for me a little bit. I mean, I've vacillated. For me, NFL, I lost interest when the Falcons lost the Super Bowl the way they did. I'm not saying I don't watch NFL games. I still watch. But I do not sit down and watch a Falcons game like I used to.
My first and deepest and longest abiding sports love, the Atlanta Falcons. I had PTSD from that night.
That was brutal.
I've described it this way: it was like a death in the family, not immediate family, but like a cousin that I kind of knew. It's something that haunts me to this day, and I don't expect to live long enough to see the Falcons win a Super Bowl, which is in sporting terms the one thing I want more than anything in life.
Well, and I still like the Falcons, and I will still watch them, but I don't watch them like I used to. And I don't, the team obviously took a wrong turn this year. I don't know where they go from here because they have, I think, more questions than answers at quarterback, which they thought, we're double stacked at quarterback this time last year. And now they're floundering.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is shot, and Penix has blown up another knee. And I love Michael Penix, but the best ability is availability. And if you can't help us on the field, then you can't help us.
You following the Braves in the offseason?
Yeah, I love what they're doing.
Yeah, so they got a new closer. Well, set up.
A second closer, probably your 8th inning guy.
Yeah. What else have they done that's impressed you?
Getting that shortstop, bringing in Hai-Sung Kim, bringing him back.
$20 million in 1 year?
Well, this is him betting on himself for a season. He's going to, I think, be 30, 31 years old.
Right.
So he'll come out of this after 1 year, and he'll try to G somebody else and get that one big contract that carry him out the next 4 or 5 years of a career. Which evidently wasn't going to be offered this time around. The A's had offered 4 years, $48 million, and 12 million. He said, "Okay, I can do better than that," and he's betting on himself.
I just find it interesting that now to get a shortstop who's a 243 lifetime hitter, not really a power guy, right?
No.
I mean, he's going to hit maybe 10, 12 home runs. Yeah. So your $20 million is what that shortstop costs you now. And now defensively, I haven't followed him. Is he a rock star defensively?
Well, no, he's not Nick Allen. I mean, we're not going to live long enough to see a better shortstop defensively than Nick Allen. But I mean, I can hit better than he can. I mean, the guy just can't hit a lick.
Right.
And so you had to upgrade there. He's adequate. He's adequate defensively. He's good enough.
I refuse to talk about basketball. Don't really care for it. Let's move on to my favorite sport, hockey. Does Atlanta get another hockey franchise?
The word is the word around the campfire is that there's still the deal out there to build an arena in Forsyth, up 400 in Forsyth or Forsyth County, and somewhere near Cumming. And
geographically, that's the right place.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
The idea being that would be an arena for a hockey team, another NHL franchise. It's rare that you get a third bite at the apple.
That's it. That's what it would be.
The Washington Nationals are a third bite at the apple. You think about it. They lost the Senators twice.
Wow.
And now you get the Nationals, and they seem to be doing well, at least in terms of not always well in the field, but they do well in terms of being a baseball team. It looks like they're going to be there for a while, but you don't often get the third crack at the apple there.
Well, what killed the Thrashers 10 years, first time in the playoffs was their last season here, and they go 0-4 in the playoffs against the Rangers.
Right,
they get wiped out first round. And so look, Atlanta is notorious. We love our sports teams, but we also love winners, right? They support winners.
Yep.
And attendance is the first, remember back in the 1989, 1990, you could go to the Braves game, Tim, with $10 in your pocket and sit in club
show
seats.
Up early enough they let you sing the national anthem. I mean, there was nobody coming to those games.
That's absolutely right.
Except me. I went to some of those.
Well, have you been to a Rock Lobsters game yet?
Yes, one. It's wonderful. It's a great experience. We sat as close to the glass as I'm sitting to you.
Really?
Right there in the front row, right there, adjacent to one of the other of the nets. And it was the smashing of the players in front of us, a little railing. Hey, don't put your drink on that railing. Why not? Because it'll be in your lap. And I saw that happen to some people. We had great seats. It was a great experience. Wonderful arena. That's my first and really only time in it. Wonderful facility.
I can't wait to go. I'm a huge Gladiators fan, so I go to the Gladiators quite 3 or 4 games a year. So I'm looking forward to going to the Rock.
They're the East Coast League, right?
There are the ECHL, which is 2 steps down from the NHL.
We had ECHL hockey when I was in Tallahassee, the Tiger Sharks back in the day. That was my first taste of live hockey, and people who say it's better in person than on TV, they're right.
Oh yeah, and those guys are good.
Yeah.
Even though they're 2 tiers down from the NHL, even the Rock Lobsters, that is very good hockey.
The thought is the Rock Lobsters might work their way into the ECHL at some point.
But wouldn't that be fun? A little rivalry? That'd be amazing. And I think that'd help both teams' attendance. Sure. You're listening to the Marc McMain Show. This was a lot of fun today, Tim. I appreciate you joining me.
Anytime.
Well, and I look forward to, if I don't see you before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And Chassie, what we got queued up to take us out tonight?
So we have Zach Haynes, and we're going to play We Are All the Same.
Zach's my buddy.
Yes.
He's under the weather. This song's for him. He's got the flu.
There you go.
All right. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. Stay safe.